going on, peeps? It's Wrath here, hanging out today, playing some Might and Magic Elemental Guardians. I want to thank you guys so much for coming out with me today. If you liked the video, don't forget, smash that thumbs up button to show your support. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe as well. Alright guys, today we're here to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes beginners make in the game. The main reason this comes up is I see a lot of things in chat that are like, you guys just need a little bit of guidance. Alright, and as someone who's made a lot of mistakes, I kind of know what not to do. I'm not like crazy super advanced. I'm doing alright. Got the 4-star stuff for the Wrath Dungeon, but I've made a lot of mistakes early on. We're going to talk about what you shouldn't be doing, and then what you should be doing instead to kind of counter that. Alright, so the first thing is going to be seal usage, right up here. A lot of people, you see 2 main answers to this question, like what should I spend my seals on? Most people will say energy, and then some people will say, you know, buy the advanced soul stones, the epic soul stones, and use that instead, right? Well, both people are actually kind of right. There's a couple things you absolutely should never spend your seals on, and that's going to be over here. You should never buy instant tickets. That's a huge waste. But like crystals, you don't need to spend your seals on crystals. You can farm crystals. Don't waste your seals on it. There's really no reason to. And the other thing is actually over here in this. I don't have one right now, but you can get legendary shards and magical books that pop up for like 100+ seals. Do not waste your seals there. It's not worth it. Those come around in the shop for crystals occasionally. Pick them up with crystals. Don't pick them up with seals. Not worth it. But to answer the question of energy versus an epic soul stones, what should you buy? Early game, when you're just starting out, you've got like 40 energy, maybe up to 50, 60 energy, stuff like that. You probably don't have a very good team yet. Okay, you're probably dealing with your basic 3-star, the basic units you get, the Fire Griffin, the Wind Nymph, the Wind Stone Guard. Those are not great units. You want to get away from them pretty quick, so early game, your first few purchases, I would say should absolutely be the Advanced Soul Stone cases. Get 9 of those Epic Soul Stones, open them up, try to get yourself some 2, maybe even nat 3-star units that are actually worth using and building. Heads up, the 3 you start with aren't worth building. You don't want to take any time really to mess with those. We'll talk about that in a second. But you want to buy some of these Advanced Soulstone cases. This is going to give you an actually decent team that you can use energy to level up and make stronger. If you're using energy early on without having any decent units to use the energy for, you're kind of just wasting energy. So I would say definitely your first couple of purchases, use those seals to buy the Advanced Soulstone case. Get those 9 creatures. You'll probably get some decent units. You know, you're looking for a healer, like the Earth Nymph or the Water Nymph, stuff like that. There's other people that can talk about stuff like that, or maybe later on I can make a video on what 2 stars you should be looking for. But generally, that's what you're going to do first, is open those up, get a basic team built. Then once you have a basic team, sure, go ahead and start using some of those seals on energy to get that team upgraded to where they're stronger. Because if you're just wasting all your stuff on energy without a good team, you end up with a really bad team and no seals to buy better units. So I would say definitely start out buying the Advanced Soulstone cases. When events roll around, like this one right here we've got going on, Summon the Creatures, I'll finish that up probably, I don't know, tomorrow or something just to do it and open my Supreme Soulstone. When stuff like this comes around, yeah, sometimes it's not a bad idea to buy those Epic Soulstones, even if you don't really need any new Nat 2s or anything anyways, because finishing this out is going to give you a guaranteed Nat 4. So it's like, it's actually kind of useful, especially if you got 150 Epic Soulstones you end up opening. I mean, you're probably not going to summon that many. That's a lot of seals. But like I said, you have a chance to get Nat 3s and Nat 4s out of those anyway, and it can definitely improve your team. So sometimes, even after you've got your nice Nat 2 team built, you're still going to buy the Advanced Soulstone cases. But energy is definitely a good investment once you've got a nice team. Before you have a decently Nat 2 team, it's a waste of your time. Alright, so with the seals thing out of the way, we're going to move on to energy mismanagement. This is a big problem. There's a couple things that go into this. Energy mismanagement can be like improperly using it, like using it in the wrong places, but it can also be leveling up too quick. Okay, easy to do with the missions. You get them every day. You're like, oh, you smash through. You're like, oh crap, I leveled up. I leveled up. I leveled up. You don't want to level up until you're out of energy, because it's going to refill your energy, so, you know, don't waste that energy. But more important than just doing that is where you use that energy. I see it all the time. You'll be talking to people in chat, and they're talking about farming the Glyph Dungeon. You're like, hey, you know, where are you farming at? They're like, oh, I'm farming Wave 3. And you're like, why would you farm Wave 3? You're waiting like, oh, they see those yellow glyphs, they think, oh, totally worth doing, right? Totally worth getting that. But likely you're going to be pulling these blues, maybe greens, yellows pretty rarely. You can get epic fragments from here. On the low stages, you don't get very many. Your main goal is to farm Wrath anyway. That's kind of your big goal to start with. But if you're farming really low, like Wave 3, you're not getting nearly what you should be getting anyways. Mainly, you're not leveling up fodder farming a glyph dungeon. There's pretty much no way to do it. Your primary goal, like, look at my campaign map. It's not even very good. Like, I don't push really hard and crazy into things. I don't need to. The main thing you need to farm early game is floating islands and Nightmare. Especially if you're just starting out. Your main goal is campaign anyway. Dragon Mist Island should be used for two things. Your daily battle in Tower of Houses, and your daily battle in the Tower of Water. Or the Tower of Elements, whatever it is. That's pretty much all you need to use energy for. Those two battles to get your daily mission finished. Occasionally, like the Secret Islands and stuff come around, and you get some stuff for doing those. Sure, go ahead and use some energy there. Get what you can out of it. But you don't want to overinvest in the Dragon Mist Islands with your energy too early, because it's not going to do you much good. You really want to focus in the campaign. You're going to push through the campaign. The main places you stop, you probably already know it by now. Mystic Forest on Advanced is going to drop the the Water Arcane Bird. Really solid unit. You're going to probably stop there and farm her up. A really good unit for your team. I still use mine. And then Sunken City. You're going to want to farm, like I said, I only farmed the first couple of missions, and you can get the Wind Golem. That's the main two units you're going to farm right there. After you've gotten those, you don't really have to push the rest of the way through the campaign. You definitely can. There's a lot of achievements to get unlocked by doing that, and that's definitely nice. Extra seals, loot, energy, and stuff come in from that, so it's not a bad idea to finish the campaign out. But once you get those units, you're going to mainly farm here in the Floating Islands for Vitality Glyphs. It's the main thing you're going to farm anyway. You want those Vitality Glyphs to tank up your team so that you can handle fighting heavier dungeons and actually surviving through them. That's where you're going to spend a lot of your time. So early game, 99% of your energy needs to be spent here in the campaign. Don't waste it in the Dragon Mist Islands. It's not going to be worth your time yet. Wait till you've got a good rank 4 team. Then start farming your evolution mats and such, and then move into your glyph dungeons. Kind of the progression of things is rank 4 team, evolutions, skill ups, then you do the glyph dungeons hard. Alright, so that's kind of your normal progression. Mainly stick here. Like I said, you're going to spend a ton of time in Nightmare Floating Islands, or you should be. It's going to give you a great place to farm XP to rank up botters, a great place to get those yellow Vitality gifts, and also the green Vitality glyphs to level up with. You also drop these Wind Arcane Birds pretty regularly. It's not like a super regular drop, but it's often enough you're getting quite a few. And that's a great free 2-star to rank up and feed into your new 4-star units. Plus, you get minor and epic soulstone fragments. The potions you don't actually get from regular farming. I've only ever gotten those from using instant tickets. You can nab seals, though. Energy, obviously, as well. Plus, like I said, in the glyph dungeon, there's just no way you're going to be farming the glyph dungeons with, fodder units to level them up. This is where you're going to do that. Also, it's probably the easiest place to farm your Vitality glyphs early on anyway. This is pretty much where you're going to farm. So don't use your energy in Dragon Mist early on. It's going to be a waste. You're going to get much more bang for your buck farming here in the campaign and then moving on later. Okay? The next mistake I see people make is actually in the arena. They want to push the arena too early on. Now, this can take place in a couple of different forms. They can either focus really heavy on PvP units early game and try to build like a PvP team. Don't do that, by the way. Or they can push it really hard. Put their best units on defense, always attack to win, go as high as they possibly can. There's a couple problems with this. First step, if you're building PvP units, that means you're wasting skill ups and evolution material on PvP units that are probably not going to help you farm PvE. Your first goal, PvE. When you can farm those yellow and purple glyphs from the glyph dungeon, now you can start worrying about PvP and building a team specifically for it. But early game, your main goal, like right now you see I have one defender unit I'm trying to drop. I made the mistake, I pushed really high up there, and I got to the point where I couldn't use my attacks and win, and so you see I've got a ton of arena energy up here and I can't use it. That's what you want to avoid. I made that mistake, don't make that mistake. You want to stay pretty low in the leagues because there's no real reason to push high yet anyways. Farm those lower leagues, use your energy up beating people that are easy to beat, and then you're good to go because you're getting reputation from those easy wins. You can burn all 10 of your energy every day, grab that reputation, and what you do with that reputation is you come over here and you buy your magical book every 3 days. It's a great way to get an easy magical book every 3 days. You're going to use a lot of them, so being able to get them repetitively and consistently is awesome. Pushing too high can actually limit the amount of reputation you get, which makes it much harder to get those magical books. Obviously, as well, for a new player, if you push too high and can't farm, you're going to miss out on tons of minor soul stones, which are actually probably what you should buy. 40 reputations, easy to farm up, and you get a chance at 2-star units for early game, which is great. Plus, you get a lot of 1-star units that you can use to use those magical books and skill up a unit. So, definitely worth doing. Is staying a little low in PvP. Don't focus heavy on it. Don't build PvP units. It's just going to take away from your PvE team. And also, you want to stay low enough that you can farm that reputation consistently. If you're getting to the point where you're seeing people with 4- and 5-star teams and you can't actually win your energy out every day, you're too high. You need to drop down a little bit, put 1 unit on defense, let people farm your defense team and lose, so you're lower in trophies for when you go to attack. You're finding weaker people, easier to win, easy reputation farming. Boom. PvP, check. The next mistake people make is over-investing in the beginner units. Now, I don't really know if I have any of them left. Do I still even have one? I don't know. I do. Ha ha ha. There you go. I actually have one of the beginner units still. So they over-invest in these beginner units. They don't know what's good and what's bad, and they take the Fire Griffin, the Wind Nymph, the Wind Soldier, and they upgrade the crap out of them. They try to evolve them, skill up them. Do not do it. Okay, you don't need to be wasting anything on these units. You're going to replace them incredibly fast. They're not keepers. None of them are keepers. The only thing you should probably even take to 3-star if you have to would be the Wind Stone Knight, because he can help farm a little bit early on because he's pretty tanky. But things like this dude, little Fire Griffin, you're not really going to use them. You're not building an attack-based unit, and that's kind of where we get into is this overexerting in these new units and building attackers. So don't really invest a lot in them. You don't need to, but mainly don't invest really in any basic attacker. So anything really at 2-star that is like a primary attack unit. This guy's kind of an attack unit, but anything that's really like based in attack, they need a crit and attack to do well. You don't want to build them. The reason is you're not going to have nearly enough stats on your low-level glyphs to make those units survive. They're not going to have near the HP or the defense needed to actually survive in long encounters, and they're going to get the crap kicked out of them really early on, and you're going to find out pretty quick that, you know, you've got to change something. You can't keep them alive. When they die, you have no damage, and the rest of your team ends up dying as well behind them. Really early on, you can get away with it. Like I said, I used him for a while. There's no reason not to. You got him for free? Go ahead. Pump some stuff into him, use those little strength runes and the frenzy runes that you got, and make him as strong as you can early, but don't overinvest in his glyphs, and don't overinvest in him. Like you see, this guy never even evolved. Never evolved him, never ranked him up. Didn't have to. There was no reason for me to. Don't do that. The reason you don't want to build attackers, like I said, is they die really easy. It's hard to make them tanky enough to survive, especially when your goal is to push into the glyph dungeons. You need a very tanky team to survive glyph dungeons, so especially early on. So what you're mainly going to be pushing for is AoE poison units, okay? A couple of those over here is going to be the Earth Basilisk. He's a Nat 2. He's a great one. He's got an AoE poison with a really low cooldown. That's solid. That's what you want. The reason you want a poison unit, not an attacking unit, is you can build them tanky. This guy doesn't have attack as a main stat on any of his glyphs. Double speed, double defense, double HP. Why? Because he doesn't need attack. Poison does not scale based on your attack. Poison scales based on enemy HP. So if you build this guy really, really tanky, he's not going to die. His poisons will slowly kill off enemies much stronger than he is. That's what you're looking for. There's also the Wind Assassin. She's pretty solid as well for poison. That's what you're looking for early on. You're looking for those AoE poisoners. It's much better to build those instead of an attack unit, and it's going to make your farming way easier. It's going to make pushing high in the glyph dungeons much, much, much easier. So it's definitely worth doing, looking for that poison unit and building it instead. Don't overinvest in attackers, and definitely don't overinvest in those beginner units. They're not worth it. All right? With that out of the way, the last thing we're going to talk about, oh, we got a new day going. Woo! Magical book, give it to me. I'll take it. I'll take the magical book. But the last thing people make mistakes on is actually in the glyph area in general. Couple things. I'll show a prime example is actually right here on my first unit. I was new to the game and I was thinking, hey, this is a really good glyph. It's a haste glyph and it's got speed as a main stat. I'm going to take this pretty high. I took it to 13. Such a bad idea. Do not do that. It's a huge waste of your crystals. Just in case you guys are wondering, I would say where you should stop is actually on a white glyph. You have a white glyph, take it to level 4 and quit. That's going to give you your very first substat for it. It's going to be very cheap. It's pretty much a free upgrade. You get the first 3 upgrades free. I don't think there's any chance to fail at all. Take it, fine, get that little upgrade, don't mess any further with it. For a blue glyph, take it to level 7, get that second substat, then quit leveling it. You do not need to take a blue glyph to 10. There's no reason. It's a waste of your crystals. And trust me, you're going to need those crystals a lot later on when you're leveling up your yellows. I don't have any purples yet. Haven't been farming the glyph dungeon a lot, just kind of pushed a little bit in there to see how far I can go. I want to get to 8, 9, 10 area before I really farm it heavy. But that's the idea, is you don't want to waste a lot of your crystals early on. For your greens, I stop my greens at 10. I grab that third substat boost, and that's it. I don't go further. I don't need to. It's a waste of crystals. When I get to my yellows, I do have a couple yellows at 13, I'm sure, on someone. Yes. I'll take my yellows to 13. It's not a bad place to take them. You can take them all the way to 16 if you want to, but remember, yellow glyphs are still progression glyphs. Your purples are the end game. So the purples, obviously take those to 16, max them out if they're good. Yellows, you can stop those at 13. You're probably pretty good to do that. If you really, really, really have to take them to 16 because you're just a hair short of completing the 10 dungeon, I guess you can. But generally speaking, the purples are where you want to go to 16. Yellows probably stop a little early. That's not all. The stats on the glyphs definitely matter, of course. And as you're building a tanky team, you're not really building an attack-based team. There's a few stats you need to look for on your main deals. The main thing that I look for in every glyph that I put on is, first, your top 2, your hexagon glyphs. These can drop with speed as a main stat. None of the other ones can. So I always put double speed on top. You don't have to. You can run 1 speed and either pump an HP or a defense on the second one if you're having a little trouble keeping something alive. But speed is super important. So having double speed on those top 2 glyphs is actually a very important thing to do. When it comes on down, the square glyphs, things can change a little bit once you get to rank 4, but for rank 2 and 3-star units, there's really no reason to do anything but flat defense. None of your units that I know of at 3-star or 2-star are going to benefit more from percent defense than flat defense. So you always go flat defense. In my opinion, there's no real reason to go any other way. Get the flat defense rune. It's going to keep your survivability up a little higher. That's fantastic. Your bottom 2 glyphs for a lot of your units is going to be flat HP early on. But again, some units at rank 3, I believe the Wind Golem actually is one of the few 3-star units that will benefit more from percent HP over flat HP. It's kind of a thing. But that's pretty much what you should run on every unit in your team. If you check it, that's what my team is. Speed, defense, HP. Speed, defense, HP. Speed, HP. And this is defense percent. The reason I say I have defense percent down here, 1, this Arcane Bird actually has a high enough defense threshold that she benefits more from percent-based defense than from flat defense. And since that's the way it is, you can't roll percent defense on the square glyphs. At least I haven't found it yet, so I'm pretty sure it's not a thing. So instead of running defense here in the middle, I have to run HP in the middle because I've got to use percent defense on the bottom to get that biggest buff I can. That's what you want to do. As your units break those thresholds, it's like 6,000 HP, you're better off to use percent HP, and around 540-ish defense, you're better off to run percent defense to gain bigger stat bonuses. But early on, like I said, at 2 and 3-star, flat defense, flat HP is going to do you very good. It's what you want to run. You don't want to get into percent-based runes too early, because they're not going to do as much for you. But like I said, that's on everything. Speed, defense, HP. Speed, defense, HP. It's a very simple deal. It's not super complicated, but with this team right here, this crappy, mediocre, unevolved, maxed up team with hardly any skill ups into it, my skill ups are total trash, none of the regen skill ups in my healer, barely any skill ups, and I can auto on the Wrath 10, Wrath 10, I wish, but Wrath 7. I autoed Wrath 7 earlier because I was kind of pushing to see where I was at, and I could auto Wrath 7 already. So I'm obviously still going to stay in the Tower of Houses and Elements and such, and get my skill ups and all that stuff done first, and then farm the Glyph Dungeon, but I was kind of testing my waters, and I can farm there already. So even with a pretty weak team, with that rune setup or glyph setup, I can farm in the Glyph Dungeon pretty freaking high. So, like I said, there's your mistakes with the glyphs. Don't make them your main priority. Like I said, you're going to be farming Nightmare, Floating Islands for a long time. Why do you do that? Vitality glyphs. As you saw in my units, almost every one of my units is rocking pure vitality. There's a few precision glyphs. This one has a couple haste glyphs on it. But like I said, my poisoner, solid vitality. 100% vitality. Windbird, or water bird, all vitality. This one's got a couple defense glyphs, but most of my stuff runs all vitality. Why? Because vitality is going to boost your HP, makes you more tanky, and it makes you survive better. That's all you're looking for. That is all you're looking for early game, is that survival. It's the best thing to shoot for. So you're going to farm that nightmare, get those vitality glyphs, get the ones you're looking for. If you're having some troubles, just before we go out of here, if you're having troubles and you can't beat the boss on nightmare and you're like, well, I can't farm the boss and still level up fodders and such, don't worry about it. Head down here to level 1 and farm up these. These are all going to give you that hexagon glyph. If you get the main stat speeds on them, awesome. Keep them. All right, move up to number 2 if you've got quite a few of those speeds. You're in teardrop now, so farm that flat HP and that percent defense, because that's what you're going to use if you get to the defense portion. So flat HP or percent defense, fantastic. Pick those up and keep them. Then move to wave 3. Now you've got the square glyphs. You can farm that flat defense or the percent HP or whatever's going to go in your flat spot. So there you go, guys. That's what you should be doing early game, mistakes to dodge, and what you should do instead. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please make sure, smash that thumbs up button and show your support if you haven't already. Don't forget to subscribe as well, and tell your friends about it, because that definitely helps me out a lot. And I will see you guys in the next one.